Hi guys, it's Sam and I am here today because it's the 2nd of August, which can only mean one thing. July wrap-up time. Yes, that time has come again. So in the month of July, I got 3 books, 1 short story, and 2/3 of another book read. I was hoping to get that last book read all the way through, but it didn't quite happen. So I will show you guys now what I finished reading. So the first book I finished reading was during the Booktubeathon was Wildwood by Colin Malloy. This is basically a book about a girl who lives in Portland, Oregon, sees her brother being kidnapped by crows, follows them into this wood on the edge of Portland where a whole world exists that she knew nothing about. Walking, talking animals and people, and there's a war going on, all this good stuff. I did a review video on this one and I will link that down below so you guys can go and check it out as I go more in depth into it. Basically, I ended up giving this like 3 out of 5 stars. I really didn't like it. I thought that the writing was wonderful. Really, really good writing. I thought that the story sucked. I just did not like the story, did not like the characters. The character of Prue and her friend Curtis basically annoyed me, especially Curtis. I just did not identify with them in any way, and basically I probably should have just stopped reading it as soon as I realized I didn't like it, so I could have read other books during the Booktubeathon, but I didn't do that. That's okay. But yes, that was the first book I finished. The next book I finished was Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. I don't have it with me because I actually have it being lent out. I also did a review on this one as well, which I did the same video I did a review on Wildwood, and I'll link that video down below. I like this book a lot. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Basically, it just follows young Prince who watched his mother and young brother being brutally murdered, and as a result, he ends up leaving and attempting to make it out on his own. He wants to get revenge against the count that killed his mother and brother, and he's at odds with his father because his father is basically a jerk, and he eventually returns home at the age of 15. I think he's just about ready to turn 15, or he's turning 14. Can't remember now, but to claim his birthright as heir to the throne. At this point, he's basically leading a band of like mercenaries, renegades type people, and yeah, it just kind of shows what's going on with him. It was a really interesting book because basically the main character is, well, he's really just he's evil. He's basically an ass. You really shouldn't like him, but as the book goes on and it's told from his perspective, you start to feel more and more sympathetic with him. You start to learn more and more why he is the way he is. It's just a really, really interesting character, and I really, really like the book. So I'll link that review down below so you guys can go and check it out because I go a lot more in depth into that book. So the second book I finished in July. The next book I finished finally was my reread of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I believe I started this in May, and I just kept getting sidetracked with other books and just wasn't reading as much the past couple months, but I finally finished it. It is just as good as I remembered. It is my second favorite book in the Harry Potter series, with Prisoner of Azkaban being my first. And I still feel so sad at the end of this book every single time. It never changes, but it is just as good as I remembered, and I enjoyed it, and I finished it, so yes. The next little book I read is actually a short story that my coworker lent me, and it is The Sleeper and the Spindle by Neil Gaiman. It's about 50 pages. It was a short story he wrote for an anthology called Rags and Bones, but she was able to get this little bind-up copy of, which was only sold during the California Bookstore Day this year, and he only sold the bind-up of these there, so there's not very many copies. So I'm totally jealous that she has this because it's so cool, but she lent it to me to read, and it's basically Neil Gaiman's retelling of Sleeping Beauty, but with a twist, which I thought was kind of cool. With basically Snow White ends up in the story, and I really, really liked it. Typical Neil Gaiman, great story. Love his language. His humor is in there, like you often encounter in his books, and I just really, really liked it. It was a cute little story, so I finished this guy in July. The next book that I almost finished and not quite was another reread, and that was Michael J. Sullivan's Rise of Empire. It's the second book in the Rhaenyra Revelations trilogy, and I've been trying to reread this series for several months now because I want to read the 2 prequel books. I was hoping to finish it. It didn't quite happen. I think I have like 150 pages left, so I'm going to finish this pretty quickly in August. But it is just as good as I remembered it the first time. Basically, it just picks up again where Royce and Hadrian were left off at the end of the first book. I believe 2 years have passed, and you see them as they are still helping the king of Mellingar, Alaric, and his sister Arista. A lot more character development goes on in this book, not only between Royce and Hadrian, but also the character of Arista, the princess of Mellingar, and she's one of my favorite characters. I love Arista. And they really go more into her character and stuff from her perspective, which I really liked in this book, and hopefully I will finish this pretty quickly in August. So as you guys know by now, I believe I mentioned my last time I did a wrap-up video, I decided I don't really want to do TBRs anymore because I have a hard time committing to it, because I'll say I'm going to read something and then I'll end up reading something entirely different, but I know that there are a couple books I will be getting to this month, so I figure I will show you guys those so you know. That first book is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I've been wanting to get to this book for months, and I am going to do it this month. I want to read it. I need to read it. I really do, because I keep hearing so many good things about this series, and I just need to do it. The next book I plan on reading during August is The Queen of the Tyrrline by Erica Johansson. Shannon over at Cozy Tea Reads and Lainey over at Ginger Reads Lainey are going to be doing a read-along for this book this month, and I had already purchased it last month. It was the only book I purchased in July. So I figured I would join in on it since I own it, and it looks like it'll be a good book. It's a new release. It looks interesting. It's a futuristic dystopian type fantasy book, which I thought was an interesting concept. And they're going to be making it into a movie starring Emma Watson. I'm excited to read this one. It looks like it'll be good, and I love this cover. It is just stunning. It is gorgeous. Even the spine is beautiful, and it has a bookmark, and you can't help but love a book with a built-in bookmark. So that is the next book I know for sure I'm going to read. I'm also hoping to get to the third book in the Ryuri Revelations series, as well as the 6th Harry Potter book if I have time. There are other books I want to read, of course, because there are other books. There's also the Yearathon going on this month, and this month's is middle grade books, and I have the Percy Jackson series on its way here, and I'm hoping to get through as many of those as I can. I believe it starts next week. I probably won't be able to get through 1 or 2 because I don't think the package is actually coming until like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm excited to read those because I haven't read them yet. So yes, those are some of the books I know for sure I'm hoping to get to in August. So hopefully it will happen. Alright guys, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please thumbs up and subscribe if you liked it, and let me know down in the comments what you guys are hoping to read in August and how your Julys went in terms of reading. And until next time guys, bye!